this podcast, the Heidelcast.
It's a Heidel minicast. And now, Scott Clark.
2 words we need to kill: impactful and efforting.
If the Heidelcast helps you, will you help us keep it going? Please make the coffer clink by clicking on the PayPal link or by sending a check to Heidelberg Reformation Association, 1637 East Valley Parkway, number 391, Escondido, California, 92027.
There are a lot of apps that you can put on your phone. They are proliferating. Everybody seems to want me to use an app to access their stuff. But then you go to use the app, and before you can do it, you have to fill in this, you have to fill in that, and then they try to capture your information, and then they want to get your email address and send you stuff. Sometimes they even ask for your phone number. You know what? The Heidel app, you just download it, you install it, and then you can use that to look at all the stuff on the Heidel blog, including to listen to this podcast. That's it. We're not doing anything to you. We are just giving you free, a beautiful, elegant, easy-to-use app so that you don't even have to subscribe if you don't want to. We like it when you do. We think that's great, but you don't have to. You could still access all the stuff on the Heidelcast and the Heidel blog just by using the Heidel app. And it's available in the App Store. It's free, and you can also get it on Google Play.
The Heidelcast.
So there are 2 words that we really need to kill. Impactful is one of them, and efforting is another. English is a wonderfully flexible and acquisitive language. Estimates vary, but as the British and European colonial powers that harvested antiques and riches from the Mediterranean, so English has harvested a significant number of words from a variety of sources. English is perfectly capable of adopting and creating new words as needed, and we've talked about that in this very series of podcasts. This is particularly evident from the number of computer-related and social media-oriented words that have entered English in the last 20 years. We commonly refer to our own memories, whether correctly is another question, as a hard drive. We often reboot enterprises. There's nothing about English that inherently opposes new words. Nevertheless, some creations are freaks, monsters, and should not be allowed to flourish. One of those is the appalling novelty impactful. It does not augur well for a word when it does not occur in the Oxford English Dictionary. The Apple Dictionary app, which used to be credited as the Oxford American Dictionary, but now just Dictionary, lists it as both an American and British word and defines it as, quoting now, having a major impact or effect, close quote, in a word or a sound. Ugh. Having an impact is not an improvement. It's a jarring usage. If that is the effect for which you are seeking, then you have it. But if you're not seeking to draw attention to your use of an awkward, colloquial word, then you will do well to avoid it. To impact something or someone is to hit them. The expression to be impacted is usually a medical or dental reference. An impacted wisdom tooth must be extracted with considerable force, or surgery or something. It's not good. The verb to impact comes from the 4th principal part, that's the perfect passive participle of the Latin verb impingere, to thrust, dash, strike against. An impact is a collision or some other violent encounter. The earliest use of impact as a verb had this sense, or, in medical use, embedded. The adjective impactful is formed by adding the intensifying suffix ful in the same way as it's added to the adjective wrong, as in wrongful. She is facing a civil action for a wrongful death. In this case, however, we should ask whether we really need the adjective impactful. Does the word fill a need? Does it perform a function that other words do not? What seems to be meant most often by impactful is that something had a strong emotional, that is, affective effect. So we read and hear sentences such as, that movie was impactful, or that book made a real impact on me. If what we mean to communicate is that something moved us emotionally, then there are alternatives. We have the noun affect and the adjective affective, or the verb to move, or the verb to influence, although my friend Harrison Perkins would wince at that, but nevertheless, we continue to use it. and the adjective influential. A good thesaurus, which is literally a treasury of words, will provide alternatives. Do you have a thesaurus? You can probably download a thesaurus on your Kindle. I have a thesaurus in the dictionary that's on my computer, and I'm sure I could get others if I wanted. If we want to describe an actual collision, then we have that word. And we also have crash or strike. The contemporary use of impact and impactful seems to date to the 1990s. If that's true, it suggests something about the social and intellectual context in which it developed. The leading philosophical currents that swept across American campuses in the mid to late 1980s were self-described as postmodern. In reality, they were hyper-modern, as Mike Horton says, most modern. Modernity was characterized by a turn away from objective sources of authority, whether God in Scripture or God in the Church, to the self.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Clark.
The Idlecast.
In modernity, capital M, humans became the measure of all things. That's absolutely new, but it became the predominant way of seeing things. Nothing about late modernity changes human autonomy. What did change in the shift from modernity to late or liquid modernity was the rise of subjectivism. Instead of looking to relate claims to a universally accessible standard of reason, rationalism, or senses, that'd be empiricism, the culture turned inward. We gave up talking about the truth for my truth and your truth. One corollary, or if you're Canadian, corollary, to the inward subjective turn is the felt need for more words to describe our subjective emotional experience. I think I've mentioned this in this series already, but as Jay Adams noted years ago, people no longer think or believe, they feel. I feel that we should not build the bridge. This is a sentence you might hear. The language of emotional or affective experience is regarded as non-threatening because it's not a claim about universal truth or objective reality. In a world where everyone is entitled to their own reality and their own emotional autonomy, no feelings are ever bad in 2025, no matter how murderous or lawlessly sexual they may be, it is acceptable to say, I feel. But it is more dangerous to say, the old bridge is falling. We should build a new one. To be sure, we've learned from the collapse of modernity that all claims are made by someone in a context and limited in important ways. We don't know things, for example, the way God knows them. But we can acknowledge our limitations without descending into subjectivist weasel words. I think that we should do X. Did the writer really need to say, I think? By the way, I fight this myself. Of course you think that we should do X. We've fallen into using qualifying phrases such as I think, or worse, I feel, as a way of immunizing ourselves from criticism. The popularity of ungainly words such as impactful should signal to us the degree to which our language has become littered with emotive language. And finally, a plea to sports talk hosts, because I'm sure that sports talk hosts everywhere are listening to the Idlecast. For the love of all that is good about English, stop using the participle efforting. Your producer might be making an effort. He might be working to reach a guest, but he is not efforting. That's an ugly and unnecessary verbal noun. We have striving, working, laboring, and even toiling. There is a lot of alternatives to efforting. Impactful may be so deeply impacted in the language that it can only be removed with surgery. Efforting, however, may not have yet taken root. Let's kill it before it does.
Thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow for more from the Idlecast, brought to you by HeidelbergReformationAssociation.org. Don't forget, when the coin in the coffer clinks, the cost of bandwidth shrinks. Copyright Heidelberg Reformation Association. All rights reserved. This is a Heidel Media production.
For this podcast, The Idlecast.